Holy moly, we're back. The Moto Academy podcast, the #1 podcast in Motocross. Hard R, hashtag Hard R, featuring, speaking of Hard R's, my
Oh no, dude.
my co-host, Dave Drakes. Round of applause, everybody. Man.
AJ's gonna get canceled so
Can't-
hard.
that's what I'm going for. I'm trying to get just right out. Dude, put some WD-40 on that mic.
It's bad.
So in this podcast, we're going to talk about the second race, San Diego Supercross. And then after that, Dave, if you're okay with it, we have some podcast questions inside of the app that people wanted answered.
Ooh,
So
let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
figured we could hit those. So I wanted to, well, first of all, two things. One, Moto Academy's on tour, and it's selling out left and right. I'm absolutely everywhere. I just got back from California. Go to the motoacademy.com, see where we're going to be. I think we have like 90 classes on the website currently. We're going to be adding another like 50. So there's so much stuff on the website. If you don't see us near our area or your area, send us a message. We'll book a class. We'll show up. We'll be there. And then this episode, Dave Drakes, is sponsored by LMNT. This is the only thing that keeps me alive because my schedule is pretty wild. I travel a lot. Lately, I don't work out a lot, but the traveling will do it. And it'll dehydrate you.
LMNT it's amazing. I honestly, LMNT has kept this household going for the past year. Mary used it all through like her birthing journey. She was like, I'm gonna need as much hydration as possible. Dude, we had 2 packs of Elements in the baby go bag just in case. So if that's a testament to how awesome this product is, we go through so much in this house.
Yeah,
shout out to
we
LMNT.
truly,
Without them, man.
we live on it. We really do. So go to drinklmnt.com/AJCat330. And you can try 8 of their flavors for free with your order. Pretty much everybody in the Moto Academy is using it, so go give it a whirl. They're a big supporter of the channel, so let's show this company, clean company, some support, because it's hard to find good stuff to drink and eat nowadays. So
oh my gosh, I just go through Allie. Whatever Allie says to eat and drink, dude, I'm on board. What I do have a question though. You mentioned the tour. I'm stoked because you guys are coming to Texas twice this month. I'm amped. What is your favorite class or favorite area or track to teach in versus what is the most popular by demand?
Oh, so, every class is so different, which is part of the reason I probably haven't got sick of this yet, right? And like, it's always a different experience. Perfect example of that is I just got back from California yesterday, and I had back-to-back 2 days of class. There were some of the same people on both days, but primarily it was completely 2 different groups. The day one was all brand new people, it seemed. C-level riders at the highest, a ton of people that had never been to a dirt bike track before, some people that had never even been off-road, period. Like, forget about not being to a track. They had never even ridden a dirt bike on dirt before. So that was my first day of class. And then second day of class, I had Loretta Lynn's kids, a couple of like high level expert, like pro level guys. It was a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And I love doing both. It's just, I like the variety and mixing it up.
That's cool. That's a cool take on it. I've never seen it split like that. At least when I went to some of the classes, it's usually a pretty good split. Like we've had, I'm thinking of like Travis Schneider, who probably one of the best mini riders we've ever seen. And then, like you said, you'd have some, a few guys who are like, hey, I ride on the farm a lot. I've never even touched a track. But I'll tell you what, I really love attending the classes where like there's a majority of new people because they have the most like potential for growth in that one class, almost like skiing. Like you can go like, it's like, oh my God, I'm learning so much. But then once you start getting good, it's harder to get good. You know what I mean? Because I mean, at your level, AJ, you're working your butt off to gain what, tenths,
Right?
half a tenth, So, but them, I mean, they could get 3, 4, 5 seconds if you help them nail a section right with confidence. So, to see the look on their faces at the end where it's like, oh my God, I hit that jump. Thanks to Coach Mitchell, thanks to AJ, and like their faces lighting up. That's like, I like those classes.
And Yeah, I guess it is easier for the student in that sense, in that, like, yeah, they might not know what they're doing yet, but from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, there is a
Mhm.
completely obvious transformation to where
Oh, for sure.
you'd have to be blind to not recognize the difference. Where when a
Yeah.
higher level rider comes in, it does require the patience of, like, they're not going to leave that day faster. In fact, they're probably going to leave
Yeah.
that day frustrated and slower because all they
Yes.
did was
Yep.
realize that they have a couple of really bad habits they need to work on, and they're going to
Yep.
have the patience to begin working on fixing
Hmm.
those habits. And that's the hardest part
For
about
sure.
drilling into anybody that's even remotely fast. So we had a couple of like Loretta Lynn Speed 85 riders. One of them was actually the owner of Twisted Development's son. Um,
Oh, okay.
I think his name is Jamie. His son, I don't know his first name, but he was great. But he was super resistant on wanting to ride with both feet on the pegs. I don't think he's ever practiced it clearly. So it was new for
Yeah. Yeah.
him, aka uncomfortable and awkward. And
Hmm.
he really didn't want to ride with both feet on because it was slowing him down, obviously,
Yeah.
at first.
Yep.
Right. But I used to get frustrated by something like that. Now I love it because that's where like the psychology practice comes into play. And how can I break through to this
Mm.
person to get them to understand the importance of this thing, and or
Yep.
understand that this is habit building, and like
Yep.
changing in life even in general is, it's habit building.
Yeah.
So
It,
it
it
really
it
is
it really
fundamentally. I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
like if you want to become a better and different person, you have to become a different person by changing each
It
of your
starts
habits
there.
one by one.
Yep. Exactly. And that's the hardest part, I think, is identifying that you do want to change or need one and then implementing the effort into that change. It's so difficult. And
Oh
that was
yeah.
a good example. Once we're stuck in our ways with Moto, it is hard. Dude, how long have you been trying to get me to put my elbows up? 20 years? You know what I mean? Like we're resistant to change, especially when we find something like, hey, I have a little bit of success. I'm getting a little bit faster, closer towards my goal. It's hard to kind of take a step backwards and kind of deconstruct and build again. But you nailed it. It's hard.
Yes, that it is. So second round was San Diego. I was in Southern
Yes.
California the last 2 days. Guess what? I didn't know what was going on
Mhm.
in Southern California while I was there.
Of course, San Diego
So
Supercross.
typical AJ fashion.
Dude, you are the most like. Oh my! Dude, we literally live for the sport, and you're like, wait, where are we? What's the super? What?
Cade Cade Clayson calls me and he goes, "Hey man, you coming this weekend?" He's like, "I see you're in SoCal," and I go, "Oh, where's the race?" He's like, "San Diego. It's right here. It's right next to you." And I'm like, "Oh no, man, no, I'm not. But thanks, thanks for letting me know. It's good to know."
What is it? What is Supercross?
Everybody at class was
Oh, that's so
cracking up.
funny.
I'm like, "Do you know how many times this has happened?"
Dude.
Because somebody on my team, whether it's coincidence or not, like these things will get booked around events, and but nobody will tell
Yeah.
me, right? So I'm always in these places right the day before or day after, like the Supercross or
Yeah.
Pro Moto race, and yet I just have no idea. So
I'm sure Hannah's like, how is it not obvious to this guy? What's up? Poor Hannah, dude.
we've
We got to get her a good Christmas present this year, man. Poor Hannah.
we designed this freaking tour schedule with a purpose, and this guy just doesn't get it.
But yeah, dude, San Diego. You know my aversion to West Coast Supercross, not because I don't enjoy like the racing and the people, but it's a different air. And maybe you could help me put a tangible word to like why East Coast to us is a little bit more enjoyable. But I do like San Diego Supercross. I feel like we've
Correct.
always had an absolute blast.
Yep.
And the racing is always pretty great. That's one race that like you'll see me complain at Oakland all day. David has a sour look on his face all of Oakland. Even like Uber ride is probably 80% of my issue with Oakland. But dude, San Francisco, love it.
Mm.
And this weekend, no different. I'm excited to talk to you about this. I was so thrilled by the track because it looked like we talked about it last week, and I was like, man, I'd love to have like '07 Phoenix. We got some peaky boys this weekend. Some of those rhythms were more techy than fast. I wanted to see like what you thought about it because to me, I saw that I was like, man, I'd be excited to roll every jump on that track. I wonder what AJ would say.
I agree. As soon as I started watching, I was like, oh, this resembles more of a Supercross style track, like
Yes.
more 180s, actual
Yes.
rhythm sections. The whoops, although not the longest set of whoops, there were more than 9. I
Yeah.
think I'm pretty sure they were saying there
More.
was
Yep.
10,
10.
which is helpful. I mean, it'd be cool to have,
Yeah.
especially because that's technically a shorter set. Like, it'd be cool to have a couple of those somewhere else on the track. But yeah, it's interesting how I guess having raced so many of these things, I enjoy it more as a fan watching when I think I would like the track as a rider. Or
Oh, for sure.
I know by watching A1 that I wouldn't have liked it.
Yep.
I just know.
For sure.
And maybe that's a bad attitude to have, but like you could just tell, you can just tell. I mean, there's certain tracks
Yeah.
that flow well, and yeah, maybe I'm closed minded, Dave. For gosh sakes, I gotta open my mind a little bit. Yeah. I rate the track.
You really got
I
to.
rate the track much higher than A1, and I think I could be biased here because I have an opinion that swings one way. I think the racing was better.
I agree, and
Right?
that was my next point. Gonna be my next point is we saw a lot. I want to say we saw separators from obviously the world class racers. You know who those guys are versus the rest of the pack. However, it made it more of a closer race between those guys that are world class. So it wasn't like, oh, one guy got a good start. He's just out front by a mile because no one can pass. The track's super easy. We got to see it be a little bit more techie, separated, but it separated the groups that you kind of want to see anyway. Because there are people that are like, yeah, I want to see Tomac and Roxon and Jet and those guys battle. I also want to see Cade Clayson versus Grant Harlan versus blah, 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 kind of in their own thing, which I think we saw that. Minus Cade Clayson. He's going to get there next weekend. But I really liked it. Was there a section or an obstacle on the track that really stood out to you as like, hey, this is something I want to talk about, or this is something that I'm really excited is back or that I would ride? Is there like, what was that one part of the track for you?
There were a few. So I liked the short little on off 3-1 before the whoops, and I kind of liked that you had to. I'm very surprised nobody went on off quad, to be quite honest, because the on off 3-1 didn't really look big.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of time to like have to single, and if the berm was huge, so you couldn't launch that single into the berm. It just didn't work that way. So you had to kind of take your time on the single a little bit. And then the whoops were interesting. There was like, I think they got pretty big midway through, but they started kind of flat, so you could come out of that corner and like really come in hot. That's actually part of the reason why Deegan fell in that heat race is he came in and was trying to just grab that gear, hang off the back a little bit in the first few to just get that steam and just come in as fast as possible, which is what ended up getting in trouble because then he kind of missed one, and because his weight was back, he got that kick and it kicked both of his feet off the foot peg. So the seat hit his butt. I saw somebody, actually it might have even happened to Tomac on like the second to last or the last lap of the main as well. That section was cool. I loved and I rarely say this, the sand looked fun. It was cool how they were roll up over, drive down, and then there was a roller kind of coming out. And then at one point, and I guess we'll get to this when we talk 450s, but in the 450 main, the outside was faster for a little bit of the main, which was cool that it wasn't one lined. And then it came back at the end of the main, the inside was faster again. Yeah, the track just looked cool. The triple quad looked fun.
It looked awesome. What does it take? Because obviously, from a fan's perspective, us mere mortals, we love seeing quads. We love seeing huge triples. We love seeing. I forget which track it was, like last year before, at one of the speedway events where they had like that huge kicker to a super long table, or was it a double or something? We love seeing that. What does it take from a pro athlete standpoint to go triple quad in that section? Like, I always wonder, like, what are they thinking?
Oh, well, it takes the crazy person to do it first, right? So whether that was Jet or Justin Hill, right? It was somebody. And once somebody does it, and maybe even does it a couple of times, it becomes much easier because you see a lot of guys jumped that triple quad. By the end of the night, there was 250s doing it. There was 450s all the way. LCQ guys in the LCQ were jumping it, right? It takes somebody to kind of break the ice and figure it out. And then because then you could just listen. What's difficult about a quad is that you don't do them that often. So you don't know how fast to go. I mean, I guess safe bet, especially because it was the last roller in the section, safe bet is wide open. But triples in rhythm, like we know the distance, it's measured out, whether you're going 2-3 or 3 in or 2-2-3, it doesn't matter. It's the same. So you know how fast to go. And another big factor with the 3-4 is like those guys were getting booted high in the air on that thing. It was it was cool to watch. I just can't believe that Feld allowed that to happen. Like the way that they manage these tracks to try and not have that happen, and then they create the most inevitable, obvious quad situation that I've ever seen. It was like
with runway at the end a little bit before that.
There's no way that Dirtworks didn't build that track and everybody just knew, they're gonna go 3-4, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they'd be silly
if that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So all they had to do, I guess, to avoid that was add in one more roller, and it would have just been a 3-3-2.
Yeah.
But I'm not against it. It was cool to watch. I thought, especially when they started going 3-4 and then landing going inside up over the roller before the triple. I was like, geez.
That was insane. That was cool. One obstacle, which I probably think is my favorite obstacle on a Supercross track. I love step-on, step-offs. I don't know why. It's my favorite thing. And we had some pretty good ones before the finish line before the finish line jump. And seeing those guys just try to make up time, skimming the top, it looked like Jet had the best, I want to call it bunny hop, to actually get on top and not clip too much to kill his drive. That to me was like one section where I was like, man, if nothing else on this track, obviously it's made for the best of the best. That's one section where I was like, I don't care how big it is, I would try that. That looks so much fun.
Forgot about that section.
Just to hop on top,
you're right. On offs, whatever you want to call them, are super fun. And that one looked cool. The one chance I've had probably most opportunity to do them was straight rhythm. And especially on straight rhythm, doing them on 125s. Like I think for the James Stewart year, I want to say there was you had a few of them, or maybe it was the Travis Pastrana year where it was like 3 tables in a row where you're having to skip across the top.
No, I think it was the Stu year.
Okay.
And it was closer towards the start. If you cut the track in half, I think it was closer towards the start.
So much fun.
If I'm not mistaken.
So much fun. Because when the track gets broken down, you have to bunny hop, basically. So as fans, like if you were to watch that race back, or if you noticed that there were guys sitting down across the tops of the tables, and you're like, why are they sitting down right there? It's because they're trying to get that seat bounce and trying to get that pop. That's where I talked a lot about this at class, actually, because we had a section that was at Kaweah Creek. It was like a massive, basically it was a quad, but you could on off it. It was pretty cool. Or you could go single over table, but it was not Supercrossy at all. It was an outdoor style obstacle, but you could ride it like this Supercross section. So I had my A group, my fast group in my class, do scrub, jump to the top, and then drive off the top. And the only way to do it was to slip the clutch to create the compression and quick pop of the rebound. And so I was talking and referencing, I don't know if you watched the entirety of the Gypsy Tales Eli Tomac podcast, but Tomac was talking about clutch use and the fact that a lot of people don't know how to, even in Supercross, they don't know how to use the clutch to do a 3-in or
build power.
Or to harness the power, to use it to help your suspension pop or not pop and push through if you want it to. So I was trying to teach the class that an on-off section like that, the guys that are the best at those are the ones that understand how to use the clutch to their advantage.
Gotcha. Do you think guys that can manipulate the chassis and can put the bike where they want to put it, do you think they have an equal advantage? And I'm looking at Jet because he's somebody who you were a big proponent of this, is if you want to build that extra pop, you kind of want to compress the front end a little bit and you kind of want to land front wheel and then up. I see Jet doing that. Do you think that's as advantageous as using the clutch, or is one better than the other?
Definitely. It's all bike skill. So like knowing bike skill is just learning the motorcycle and knowing what it's going to do at every single point, right? So that way you could be in the air, assessing the top of this tabletop and knowing, okay, if I land here on this bump, my suspension's going to unload too early. There's still going to be 3 feet to go on this tabletop. So therefore I'm going to drive off it into the face of the next one. Like every inch counts. And when you know what your bike's going to do, especially those guys like a Jet, I mean, not only does he have all the bike skill, but he also has a perfectly dialed in bike that he knows exactly what it's going to do. That's the stuff and I guess that's why I tell people at class too. I'm like, do a few of these things, do 4, 5, 6 of these classes, and you're going to be watching the sport differently. You're going to be catching things and paying attention in a much different way, I guess, than the average fan would. I also think that little step up after the finish, that looked fun too.
Yeah. I forget who somebody so Tomac had a pretty good scrub off of it, which is insane because you really didn't get that much pop.
No.
But to be able to have the fast twitch that it takes to get a scrub going anyway, but to do it the whole process fast, Tomac had a really good one. And somebody else in the Yamaha in Group B 450s, I cannot remember. It's either Jerry or Harlan's on a Yamaha, I think too. But man, they were getting pretty steezy over that jump, and that's another obstacle where I'm like, I can't do it that low, but it looks like it'd be pretty fun to like try, you know?
Yeah, that'd be a fun obstacle for any skill level, really. I mean, because you could set that up and just pop over a little step up. Yeah, the dirt looked good. I was pumped on the track. Do we want to dive into talking about 250 class to start?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, we were right when we were talking about Cole Davies, huh?
Oh my gosh. So I don't. This is probably going to sound super like we're the best of the best, but I feel like everything that you and I touched on Cole Davies last week, they brought up during the race day live broadcast of like, you know, he really looks super confident out there with the starts and for a young guy, and I was like, that's what we said on.
Well, it's because we're the #1 podcast in motocross, so obviously RC listens to our full episodes every weekend.
Hashtag hard on.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, he freaking hole shots the main event this time, not just the heat race, and then just cool as a cucumber, ticking off laps. By the way, correction, sorry, all my New Zealand folks. He's a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand. He's not from Australia. I think one of us said that he was from Australia.
Did we say Aussie? Oh, my bad. It's probably me.
I don't remember saying it necessarily, but somebody commented on a YouTube video, so I must have said it somewhere along the line.
Okay. Kiwi.
Yep.
Kiwi. Okay.
I'm sure that would be annoying for those people when us stupid Americans mess that up. So shout out Ben Townley. Shout out who else is from New Zealand?
Dude, that's a shout out Tony Cutler.
Don't know who that is.
You do, but you don't remember. Literally met this guy 10 times, but cool.
Oh wait, yes, TCE person.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yep. Yeah. You know him. What a good person. There's like 3 trainers in this sport that do not get enough credit for the work that they do. Ben Townley, Davey Millsaps, Nick Way.
Oh yeah.
Those guys, they know their stuff. Could you think of a better person to help usher in a young Kiwi on how to come to the States, how to have success, and how to work through adversity, the hype, the rigors of being a pro athlete? Ben Townley's seen it all. He probably is. There's nobody better to help this kid be successful in Supercross.
I wonder his background. I'm so curious because is he like a hardcore, like is he a farm boy? Like what is his family up to? I'm very curious because I also don't know Ben Townley's background, but I sense that Townley is a grungy farm type dude, like working out in the yard type of guy, like a Tomac. When I listened to the Tomac interview with Gypsy, I was like, oh, no wonder he has the mindset that he does because that's just his life. He embodies it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out there like just working on the ranch, doing whatever the heck, whether it's like feeding and taking care of the animals or fences or just the property in general. Like it's just a different lifestyle than a lot of us in third world countries like live now. I mean, think of the way I was just so spoiled in that I didn't have to try hard to do anything. I didn't have chores.
Mm.
I didn't live on a ranch that I have to take care of. I didn't work on my bike. I got done riding when I was little. My
Mm.
dad would take, because my parents were divorced, so my dad would take my bike home.
Mm-hmm.
All I had to do is just get picked up from school and go ride my dirt bike. And yeah,
Mm.
there was something about that that I think it didn't instill the values of how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like just hard work all the way around, whether it's yard work or gym
Yeah.
work or motos. Does that make sense? Like you can tell.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, there's like that extra, like that dog in you. You have
Yeah.
that little bit of that extra fire. And I always tell the people this, like, I equate it to like, dude, me and Mary, we grew up very differently. My dad's from an island, dude. You know, Tony, you're doing manual labor, dude. He's not hiring a contractor. If you want a roof put on, you better get your ass up there and you better help dad. You know, I mean, I was also spoiled, you know, I got to race dirt bikes as a kid growing up, so it can't be too, you know, but um, like seeing like Mary and the way that she like wants to like raise Maeve and like, oh, we'll do this and that. I'm like, no, like don't coddle her too much. Like, dude, Eminem wouldn't have been Eminem without 8 Mile. You know, like the dude's famous because he had to struggle quite a bit, you know. Like, come on, you don't want to take like, you know, the freaking 3/1/3 out of out of Eminem, or else he ain't gonna be famous. You know what I mean? So, but no, you're right. Like there, we see that grit. Like look at Stu, look at Ricky, look at Chad. Like those are the greats of our sport. They didn't start out at a facility. They didn't start out with a, you know, a contract for 100K, you know, from like 50s like some kids do, you know. I think it was later on they got some good contracts, but you know, hearing their stories about how it was like humble beginnings, like Stu and their family, they were either going to race or they were going to eat, you know. It's like
Isn't that
it's tough.
interesting? So it's
um
two different ways, right? So you
yes.
compare that, and we're literally making up this person's story. But let's say Cole Davies is that type of person that has the
Yeah.
grit, right? And was just raised in that type of way. I have no idea. We're making it up. Versus Deegan, right?
Hmm.
Where the everything is kind of on the the platter for
Available.
you. It's available to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, everything's
So with
available.
that, it is the advantage is that you are taught how to think to have a higher thermostat, so to speak, so that you have a higher
Mm.
like your baseline belief systems are higher.
Is yes,
Yes,
yes. Okay,
my
yeah,
my
yeah.
my family
Yep.
lives in this type of home. Obviously, I'm going to have this type of home. My family drives these types of vehicles, or my dad was famous in motocross. Like all of the things, you have
Yes.
a belief
Yep.
system that is just naturally maybe bumped up a little higher. The other person,
For
the
sure.
gritty person, might not have that, but they have a baseline fundamental understanding of just like their life is like they
Fight.
fight and they work and they just
Yeah.
do it. They just do the thing.
Yeah.
So you just
That's a really
champions,
good
you have to
point.
combine those two things.
Yes. Yeah. I think where and we're not saying, because I know someone's gonna clip it, where Deegan, you still have to ride the bike. Like whatever Deegan was given, that doesn't equate to talent. That kid still has to work his butt off and stuff like that. So we're still huge fans of his work ethic. But that's a really good point. And I think where the underdog, like the again, making up this guy's backstory, Cole Davies or Chad Reed, is when things do get tough, when you do have to push that little extra bit, I feel like they're already prepared. So like if you do go down to a showdown, tied in points, Deegan for or anybody who is, you know, not had to fight as hard, to get the options or opportunities, not necessarily the talent. Um, if that underdog mentality is like, oh, I know what it's like to have the pressure, to have to like push through the burning forearms and to like have that voice in the back of your head where like if you don't win, you are not going to eat tonight. Like I feel like that's a little bit more of an advantage. Um, when things are tough, when you're in that pressure cooker, when things are on the line, you know what I mean. We'll see if it ever comes down to it, which I feel like it might, because Cole Davies is making progress very quickly. We might be able to see the Deegan Davies showdown sooner than later. I don't think I've heard of a kid other than like maybe AC who came out swinging in their first race and then whole shotted and led like most of the main in their second showing.
No, this is going to be a bold statement, but he looks better than any rookie I've ever seen.
Agreed. Because even AC
or Jet
mistakes,
or any of the
Davalos
ones
went
I can think
down.
of.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yeah,
AC was
yep.
lightning fast, but he didn't necessarily like look like the
No,
full package. Where
correct. He was fast, but you could there was a ton of mistakes. I mean, we should probably do like a rewatch of that to kind of knock him all out. But Davalos fell. I don't know if you remember that, like going through like a flat left-hander. Baggett kind of got caught up a little bit, so like AC kind of
and
had.
I got a bad start, so I was kind of out of the picture in that one.
Yeah, oh man, if AJ was up there, oh boy, watch out. Yeah, I mean, just things just kind of fell into it. Where Davies looks like AJ. If you changed his number and put him in the same like gear as anyone else, I couldn't tell him apart from Moseman, from Anstey, and these are guys that have like they're tenured in this class. You know what I mean? So,
He looked better than all of them. He looked like he
yeah,
looks like Jet.
looks
He rides
phenomenal.
like Jet.
Yes, yes, he
Yeah.
does.
So
He really does. Yeah.
he he's going to come into the picture really quickly here. And he didn't really put a foot wrong that whole main event, other than that very quick front end wash that he saved, by the way. And then it took him a few laps to maybe rebound from that speed wise. But then he did end up catching back up. And he passed DeFrances, however you say his name, for fourth.
Ryder D. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Joe Shimoda with like the breaking of the hands?
I saw a picture of his hand today. Wow.
That's crazy.
Whose pit board did he hit?
I'm not. It looked like a club pit board. It was so fast. I think I saw like a little bit of purple and some other colors, and I'm like, I think they had a little bit of that on their bike last week.
Oh, you saw the colors on his hand or something?
No. I mean, saying like, yeah, right. The imprint of the of the logo, but it was so fast, dude. Who knows, right? I don't want to speculate, but man, what bum! And it's a fluke thing. Those guys are so fast with the reholstering of the board. You know, it's
well, and even then, like
insane.
I would not be afraid to drive into and run right into a pit board with my hand, because I would think that it would be fine. For sure.
Yeah.
You know, because I thought pit boards were pretty light. What, does Club MX have a pit board made of lead?
Yeah. Yeah, they're cast iron pit boards.
Man.
I don't know. I think he caught it like on like the sharp edge too, and not like the big like, where you could just like knock it out of the dude's hand. So I think things just somehow this perfect storm for breaking. Jackson asked us a question last night on our live watch party. What is the minimum like injury that you would be able to sustain or want to sustain and still be able to race that night?
The minimum? What do you mean?
Like what's the like what would it take? Or sorry, maximum injury, not
okay.
Minimum. What is like the most hurt you would take and then still try to line up for the night show or main event?
Well, I could speak from experience in that I showed up to Denver Supercross one year. This was probably the most collective injuries that I had. I didn't get hurt that day, but I got hurt like Thursday. Prior
19?
Yeah, the year that it snowed. Was that 19? I think the year before COVID, probably.
Yeah, 19.
So I showed up to that race, and at that week at RJ Hampshire's track, I broke a few ribs. I separated my shoulder. I punctured my lung. I fractured my scapula, and I didn't know this until I rode free practice and had pain in my hand and was like, I would go into the Alpine Star Medical thing and they x-ray it, and I had a fractured hand on top of all of those other things. And
not to mention the punctured lung at altitude in freezing
and it was
air.
Snowing.
Oh, it was snow. It was so
Imagine
cold.
all of those injuries I just named at 5,000 feet of elevation while it's snowing and trying to ride a Supercross track. Like, what a freaking moron I am. But yeah, hey, I got a shot of Toradol in my butt, and I was able to do it. Every injury is a little bit different. It is amazing though in Moto how you can be pretty hurt, and because you're on a bike, it does definitely mess you up for sure. You're compensating the whole time, but you can strap yourself in and like tape yourself up and basically get on that bike and kind of make it happen. The Toradol shots that you can
for
get
sure.
that they inject into your booty help for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's that's definitely one part I don't miss about it. Is there have
Yeah.
been some times when I've been riding in so much pain. What about, have you ever ridden in a lot of pain that you can remember? Any broken bones or anything?
Um, I think I had like a severe thing with my knee that happened. I popped my shoulder out and kept riding. The year that I fought, you and I were racing uh, Moto Town Supercross, and I followed you off that inside line and cracked my
Yep.
wrist. Tony gave me like 4 weeks to heal up, and he was like, "You got 4 weeks, and whatever your body's doing, you're racing." So, dude, I had to like cut the cast off. I'm sure it was still fractured. Had to race with that. Um, Definitely rode way sooner than I should have after I tore my liver. I could feel it every like whoop at Southwick. I was like, you know. You know what's funny? You mentioned Toradol. Not many people know what that drug is. When during like Maeve's birthday delivery and all that stuff, the nurse was going like, "Oh, we got morphine." I was like, "Ooh, that's good." And they're like, "We got Toradol." I was like, "Ooh, that one's nice." And then she's like, "We got Percocets." I'm like, "That's a nice little edge." She's like, "How do you know all this?" I was like, "Oh, I race dirt bikes." She was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you know all the stuff." But I was like, it was like a menu of like Toradol, a little sweet, morphine. I'm not that tired though, you know.
Man.
It was, it's
I've
crazy.
also 2016 450 class. I tore my ACL in time qualifying, and then
Mm-hmm.
I raced that night. I think I might have made the main event in the 450 class that night with a torn ACL, and actually that is what started. That was my first day and first night of riding with both feet on the pegs, because I was, obviously
Ooh,
it was torn. I had
no
I had them
choice.
tape
Yeah.
it up like absolutely crazy, and I was so terrified. Everybody's ACL tears experience are different too. Some people tear their ACLs and like, oh, it wasn't even painful at all. Mine, I heard it pop over my bike. I was hitting
Mm-hmm.
whoops in the 450 class, dabbed my foot, and I heard it pop over the noise of my 450. Extremely, extremely, extremely painful. I rode back over to my mechanic Jeremiah at the time, and I just tip over and fall into him. And I, yeah, started riding with both feet on the pegs
Uh,
from that night, and then finished the whole season. I actually had my best 450 season ever,
Pretty
riding
good
with both
season.
feet
Yeah.
on the pegs with the torn ACL. Yeah.
Yep. You know, every time you mention Jeremiah, I get a little chuckle. I go, dude,
He texted me
he's
the other
just
day or yesterday, the
so,
day before. Yeah, he's great. I love that guy.
yeah.
Shout out Jeremiah.
He is by far the best. Shout out Jeremiah. I want to talk Juju Bomair,
Mm.
and then Triumph. Dude, I talked about it last weekend with you. Bomair has this confidence, not arrogance, not like just a belief. Like it is reality for him. He has this confidence that he is a class leader, and he rode like a class leader. Didn't let the drama get to him. Didn't care if he was out front or in third. He rode the exact same way, charging to the front, knocking off fast lap times, and looking like a seasoned vet. And he's still a young kid, not quite Davies young, but he's still
Crazy.
early in his career. Not only did his kit and his whole bike setup look sick, I am an FXR guy, but that one industry stuff looked good. I love the way Bomair is riding, man. He's riding with like Tomac level confidence of like, I'm already 3, 4, W's in the bag. Like this is just another day for me. I should be up here, which is rare in the 250 class unless you're somebody like a RJ Hampshire, Jordan Smith, somebody who's been up there a lot. What do you like about Juju that most people aren't talking about? Because I mean, you've seen it all, AJ. Like, what is it that this kid has? Because he's whatever it is, he's got a lot of it.
Yeah, it seems it has the vibe similar to the Cole Davies thing, and like again, I don't know either of these people personally, but it seems like a quiet confidence of just like they believe in themselves. The
Yeah.
Bomair there rides differently than Davies does. He has a bit more like
Hmm.
edge to him. He moves a bit
Yeah.
more on the bike, but not much. I mean, he doesn't move around as much as most rookies do. He doesn't make
Yeah.
as many mistakes as most rookies do.
Yeah.
He's darn good. And now that he's won, I'd say, you know, he's gonna, because he qualified first at A1, didn't
Yes.
he? Qualified second
Yep.
this weekend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Deegan better get a move on, man.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. He made even though Deegan's a confident kid, so I don't think he's like like really shaking in his boots, but he's on Deegan's mind. Deegan's like, looking over his shoulder a little bit. He's thinking, you know what I mean? So he's on the radar. I don't think it's gonna trip up Deegan, but at least Juju's like, I'm this is somebody that I probably have to look out for. You know what I
Well,
mean?
where it messes you up
Or,
is
or be
those
mindful of.
starts. Like Deegan has been blowing the starts, and
Mm,
that can come from two things. One, either you don't believe in yourself, which is not the case with Deegan, or two, you believe in yourself so much that you get a little like anxious on the gate, just like you want to
yes.
go so bad and so
Yes.
fast that you mess up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to say, I don't know if it was a heat race or main start, but he kind of like wheelied a little bit, slid off the back of the bike a little bit, legs came loose, and it was just like, that's a rushed start. Like you got to
Mm,
slow down a little bit, and the rushing on the start can come from like almost overconfidence. Where
yeah,
you see Jet do it
for
sometimes.
sure.
Deegan's done it now like 3 or 4 starts in a row. Um, yeah, so he's got to just slow down a little bit on those starts, because you got to imagine.
Yeah.
I know all those bikes are pretty fast, but dude, you're on a Star Racing Yamaha. Like, let the gate hit the ground and then take your time getting out of there. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. And that 250 class West Division. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, no, that was come on. That was that was yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of motor in that bike. Triumph. I'm so stoked to see a new OEM come in and have success like this. I'm gonna call this early because their first showing was last year. Jordan Smith, really good pickup for them. Glad that he saw merit in the team, potential in the team, because it's cool to see Jordan Smith knocking out these podiums left and right. And the bike is just as good. It looks like as any other top brand out there. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked to see that. What do you have you ridden one of the new Triumphs
Yeah.
before?
Only for like
What are
10
your
seconds. I wrote it for, I
mm,
stole it. Somebody had it at class. So I was like, oh, need to demonstrate on that. Thank you very much. So took it, hit the corner maybe 3 or 4 times, and it felt
mhm.
great. I really wish I had a
What
chance
did you
to,
like about it?
everything, honestly, everything. The chassis felt
Mm,
really good. It was Kawasaki-esque, but
mm,
not as squatted, where anytime I've ever ridden a Cowie in my entire life, I feel like I've been freaking riding a chopper. Um,
mm,
so it didn't feel like that, but it did feel like close to a Cowie sort of otherwise. And the
mm,
power was great, super smooth, but fast. And the one I rode
mm.
was probably brand new, probably had a couple hours on it at most. And I think they look good. Yeah, I'm
They
all
do.
about it. I think it's really cool. It's exciting
Yeah.
that Triumph, Ducati, like these manufacturers are coming in to the sport. That's a good sign.
Yes, Ducati is going to make a splash. I think they're going to bring number like so much racing pedigree as well as some pretty big racing dollars. They're a high-end luxury brand. They're going to bring in a lot of cool eyes and traffic and just I almost want to equate this like an F1 vibe. I feel like they're
Mm,
going to bring that in.
good.
And
That's
they
what
also
we
have Troy
need.
Lee. We do. We need that type of professionalism, that
Yeah.
pedigree of racing to elevate our sport. We also got Troy Lee, who's there also, who's going to really be able to help that team like get ushered in the right way, where they're not going to be faltering in certain aspects. So I'm excited. If you had to speculate, just give me two riders that you think would be great pickups for Ducati.
Are they going 450 only to start, or
Let's say 450 only.
okay? Is there anybody that you know that's a free agent, or am I
I
just
know Kenny was looking, but I don't know if he's a free agent or not. I know Kenny was like kind of eyeing a little bit, but that's all the inside info I got so far.
um hmm,
I mean, I imagine everyone's like,
the
but
first
I
person that
wonder
comes
like
to
who the
my
guys are
first
that
person that comes to my head is Barsha, but
I that you took the words out of. I was gonna say Barsha would be a nice, easy, smooth transition in.
I feel like Barsha, and he's, although radical on the bike at times, like he has, for me, Barsha has a vibe of like F1 high end. I don't know if it's because his pants are super tight. Um, but
Could be.
I think he'd be a cool match. Obviously, a Roxon is, I think, of his high end.
For sure.
Yeah, Roxon would be, yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, that's a really cool thing to see, like another brand coming in like that. We talking 450s?
Yeah, what else 250s? That's it, right? Who won?
Yeah, I think we
Beaumare. Who got second?
Bomair,
Jordan Smith?
Smith.
And
Yep.
then third was D and
Deegan. Yeah.
yeah.
Then Davies.
Oh, uh, hopefully that long person is okay. That was a pretty good crash.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a tough one.
I was wondering
That
why
was
he
for
didn't
sure.
jump off the bike, but then when I watched the replay again and saw it from a different angle, the way that he just hung up the rear wheel just enough and it kind of like he wasn't expecting it in a sense, like flopped over the
Yeah.
front before he took off. I could see why that came at him really quick. And yeah, because in my head, I was like, man, as soon as you hit that one, you should have jumped. But that looked painful. He was knocked out
Did.
probably, right? That's what it
Yeah.
looked like.
Usually if they're red flagging, yeah, you're out and they can't get you to move off under your own
Yeah.
power. So, scary stuff, but hope he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I think, yeah, 450s, the 450s exciting this year.
Oh man, it was so cool. It's gonna be tough, so I want to throw this at you. Give me one person who stood out the most.
Oh,
Doesn't have to be any finishing position, just somebody who was like, man, I want to talk about
well, I have a
this.
new favorite rider.
Who's that?
I'm on the Tomac bandwagon. Not that it's a massive band. It's a massive wagon, but I'm hopping on it.
You mean the coach bus? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty big wagon. Dude, what is it about the way that this guy rides that it's just so exciting to watch?
He's just a beast. He's
Yes.
just a beast. The way that main played out too is really interesting to me because the past Jet, by the way, by hitting the outside in the sand, like railing the outside in the sand, and then
Yes.
Jet. So there was a moment in that race where I'm like, Tomac's winning. I said it out loud. Allie and I were watching it together, and I like lap 2. I was like, "Oh, Tomac's winning." And then after Tomac passed Jet, I said, "Oh, Jet's winning." It just looked like the momentum shifted, and all of a sudden Jet started creeping back up. I'm like, "Oh, Jet's gonna win," because he copied all of Tomac's lines, and then a couple of Tomac's lines weren't good anymore. So he kept hitting the outside in the sand, and Jet was railing the inside in the sand. And then actually, what happened? Honestly, this lapper might have saved the race. He caught a lapper right at the perfect time, where it forced Tomac to go to the inside and try that line again in the sand section.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that was Moran's who actually like pointed to like the inside.
Really, yeah. So
Yeah. I want to go back and watch it, but it looked
it was
like
perfect
that's what
timing,
happened.
and that saved the race for Tomac because had he not found that line, because he was railing the outside, so he probably thought it was fast enough the whole time. But the inside came back. And then there was a couple of other lines too. Like they all started going inside before the triple. I don't know if Tomac was doing that or not. Yeah, I think he started to. The whoops changed. So they all started by going outside and riding the right side of the whoops and then went to the middle. And then once the rut got deep enough, then they moved back to the outside line again. That's the hardest part about Supercross, by the way, is like, when you see pictures of that track and close-ups of the aftermath of it after the 450 main event, it is incredible what those guys are able to do and how fast they can ride it when it gets that torn up. Because you have to change the whole time. And that's the hard part. That's the scary part about Supercross is like it's as soon as you learn a 3 in a rhythm or like skim the whoops in one spot, you're like, not moving. Like, I will live and die by this line right here. I don't care how kick it out it gets. Like, I am comfortable and familiar with this line. I'm staying in it. And they just try and explore different stuff. It was so cool. I love that rivalry with him and Jet because it's such a contrasting rivalry in every way.
Yes. Yep. And you called it, and it reminds me of the changing of the guard between McGrath and Carmichael almost when they're both because sorry
Or,
yeah McGrath
or
sorry I said
Carmichael and
McGrath
Stu,
um
like yeah,
or Carmichael and
yeah.
Stu, yeah, the same deal. But yeah, McGrath still kind of like in his prime ish. Carmichael was like the new kid on the block, like starting to really like make a name for himself, sort of like Jet. Maybe Jet's a little bit more established than Ricky at that time. But we've seen that multiple times in Supercross history, and it's always been so freaking exciting. And you were right, we are in another opportunity to see the changing of the guard, but arguably you got two guys that are at the best that they both have ever ridden. I think once Jet gets that bike figured out, it'll be a little bit better for him for that, with the Honda team. But how cooler could this be, man? It is.
It's a
It
different
was so
level.
exciting to
It's a
watch.
different
It
level.
really is. I feel like
Sexton,
there's very few
Jet,
times when we elevate like this.
Jet, Jet, Sexton, Tomac. There's plenty
Yeah.
of fast guys in that class, but those three
Yes.
specifically it is next level speed. I see some of the things that they do, and you know me, Dave. I I believe I can do most
Here
of
we
the
go.
things one thing at a time, right? Piecing it together around a 50-second lap is a different story. And then for 20 minutes straight, different story. But like being able to
Yeah.
do something one time, I'm like, I could do that. There's some things
Yeah.
that those guys do, and I'm like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know,
And it's not only
whoa.
lap after lap, it's lap after lap while Eli Tomac is breathing down your neck. Kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like that is absolutely insane. And um like from your perspective, what's it going to take for the other guys to be able to up their game and be there? Like, yeah, Cooper Webb on the podium.
Nothing.
Um but like what can they do, man? Like what can a Mookie do? What can a AP do? Like what can these guys do to like Cooper to get to that level, man? Because it's insanely fast right
Yeah,
now.
I would say nothing for for like a Justin Cooper. He has time. He's young, so he could.
Hmm.
But the older guys, I would say nothing. There's you don't have enough time left to catch those guys because you would have to like rewrite the way that you're doing your thing. You'd have to change your riding pretty significantly um, to try to look and ride more like how Jet does and how Sexton does. You couldn't look at Tomac and go, "I'm going to start riding how Tomac does." There's a reason I don't teach Tomac riding style and I teach Jet riding style because
Yeah.
one you can coach, the other one you can coach, I guess, but man, it's a lot more difficult. Like he's the way he power slides around, like it's incredible. The one thing people can learn from Tomac for sure is he's getting very, very good at riding with his feet on, which is cool. Everybody else, these guys, until we see like the full changing of the guard and the 30-plus-year-olds all start
Hmm.
retiring, which you imagine would be
Hmm.
somewhat soon. Um,
Yeah.
I think those are your three, uh, right? Jet,
Yeah.
Sexton, Tomac. It's just like
Yeah.
it's a level up.
Yeah.
What do you, is that?
It's
What do
so
you think?
insane.
I mean, it's just nuts. When I watch it, I'm like, geez.
Yeah, it really reminds me of I'll take it back again like we always do. '05 Supercross, Ricky, Stu,
Yeah.
Chad. Nobody was close, and if they were, it's because those guys were either dogfighting so hard that they dropped their lap times trying to beat all of them because they are all rivals, or they're just 30 seconds in front. There really was, and they're racing against Wyndham, absolute beast. They're racing Villeman, you name them, all these super fast guys. Nobody was catching Stu, Carmichael, and Reed. Reed on that Yamaha in '05. I remember '05 Dallas heat race. I didn't think you could take a corner faster. Like I always come back to this. It looks like Reed did not hit the brakes. The only thing he used himself to slow down was like sliding into the like his back end into a berm and letting the friction of the dirt kind of do its thing and then just power out. Like it was that's what this kind of reminds me of. Like this whole era we're in right now. It's reminiscent of that to me because they're just so far, head and shoulders above the rest. This season's made me a Sexton fan. Obviously respected the guy a bunch. One of the best techniques I've seen in a long time. Same like yourself. But I love the way that he's riding and like how his approach to racing's looked this year. It's really been pretty impressive. But as Supercross fans, AJ, we couldn't be more spoiled right now. This is the absolute treat we've been wanting. You know, there's a parity in the class, super fast guys, different storylines, complete contrast and approaches and age and fan base and bikes. We're in another golden age right now for
Yeah,
entertainment.
yeah, yeah. Keep giving us give us good tracks, and I'll be satisfied.
God,
I'll be
please, dear
satisfied.
God, I hope we get more like this. Oh, that'd be so phenomenal. That would be
Uh,
perfect.
oh, do you watch time qualifying or race day live at all?
A little bit, yeah.
So I didn't, but I heard and got a couple screenshots that the Moto Academy helmet did make an appearance because Cade crashed and the helmet was on.
Because I was like, you know, we wanted better, you know, but hopefully a whip over a finish line. But hey, we get it how we get it, right?
Hey, sometimes you got to take one for the team and sit there for the crash. Just maybe just hang out there for a little bit. Let the camera find you. Let them get a good zoom in. Yeah, I saw the screenshot and I was like, oh yeah, nice, front and center. The helmet looks good. He's had a couple of different gear sets he's worn it with too, and the helmet looks really, really nice. What we're doing as well, I don't know if I've said this in a podcast yet or not. We're gonna sign probably like 3 pro guys for 2025, Cade being the first to wear the helmet. And the helmet will all be, for the pros, it's going to be that color. It's like an orangish red. It's like a nice, I don't know how to describe it, but it's nice.
But it's brighter too. It's not just like a dull orange.
Yeah.
Color. It's a pretty bright.
It's a perfect color. I really like it. And then the amateur helmets are blue, and and it's a really perfect blue. And we're going to have about 25 or 30 is the plan, AM athletes wearing the helmet for 2025 in every region, in different countries. Like, I want that helmet fast or slow. It doesn't matter. It's not like you got to win Loretta's to wear this helmet. I want just people that embody Moto Academy. That's why I picked Cade, right? It's like Cade is he is like so down to earth, and like he's posting in the app on race day and giving people tips.
Yes.
That's the type of thing I want. So when people ask for the amateurs, I get a lot of messages like, man, how can I apply, or what are you looking for? What are the qualifications? And I literally just respond. I say, just like, you just gotta be a good person. And they're like, no, can you be more specific than that? And I'm like, well, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, honestly, that's kind of
it. It really. And that's one thing that I love about this community. And I sound like a broken record. I will say it till I'm blue in the face. The TMA community is one like no other, dude. Nowhere else, and we're pretty outgoing people, AJ. Like we hug everybody. We're super cool. There's never been a time where like we've gone to so many places, and before we meet a single person, people are, hey, good to see you, and like we're hugging like we've known each other for 15 years. It's the biggest group of like just really good, passionate moto people that you feel good around. Like Caitlin was talking to me about this the other night. She was like, as a female racer, I don't have to be judged asking stupid questions. Like I can be in there and say like, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my clutch finger. What do I do? Why do I need it here? And this is just an example, but she's able to ask those questions without people going, oh, you know, here's another C rider that blah, blah, blah. Like you can on social media a lot. You can see that a lot. Dude, we could post anything of like, hey, I keep falling in flat corners in first gear. What do I do? You know, and everyone will be like, hey man, good try. I'd recommend going up a gear, trying body positioning, try keeping your head up, all this other stuff. So really is just be a good person. But I texted you this week. I got probably, I can't tell you how many conversations going of like, dude, just got the cool TMA contract. I'm so excited. I'm like, dude, congrats. Cool. Like, I'm so stoked for you. Like, people are really excited.
Yeah, they're really excited. People get hyped on that, right? Because it's like a level of support in the athletes that were the amateurs that we're choosing. And when I say amateurs, by the way, you don't even have to race. Like you just, again, the qualification is be a good person. But we're giving them all free classes for the year. So like we're really trying to step in and help out.
Summer camps.
The training at Winchester, the race entries if you're going to Winchester races, like really trying to help out in that way. I can't say enough. Obviously, I'm biased, but like, I feel when I go in the app now, I feel like we have reached the first level although this is technically incorrect, the first level of like what feels like escape velocity a little bit, in that the app is so autonomous and there's so much
Hmm.
engagement. It's hard. It's very hard to create your own platform and to have that. Very hard
Yes.
to
Yep.
get people to be interacting and liking and commenting on other people's things in a
Hmm.
platform that you've created. It like I never honestly, there was part of me that didn't think it would ever happen, and now
Really? Why is that? No, seeing where it is now, this feels very. I don't. It feels very planned. Like you had a plan of like I. It's going to go like this to get here because it is. It's working like a well-oiled machine. Why is that you didn't really expect it to be like this?
it's just hard. It's been so hard to first of all educate the populace on like what is this app and why do I need it,
Mm.
right? Because the
Yeah.
difficult part is the ideal members that we're going after to try to get to sign up, they think that they want training. But what they find when they get there is that they needed community. So, and
Mm.
that's the people that stay. The people that, they come for the training, they stay for the community. And
Hmm.
that's probably how you could sum up Moto Academy like as briefly as
For
possible.
sure.
So it's
Without undercutting the training. The training is
the
world
training
class.
is
Like.
the best you could possibly get, but it's like people come
Yeah.
for that and then they stay for the community. So it makes it hard for it
Yes.
makes it difficult to like, how do we educate the public on that? And then that aside, when you get people into a platform, um, it still took a long time for us to break the ice. And like our first version of the V1 app uh,
Hmm.
wasn't as social media esque, so it didn't really promote that type of thing,
Yes.
right?
I agree.
Where
Yeah.
the new one, I mean, the new app is like that. Well, our app developers call it people magic is their number one priority. It is like growing the community by getting the people to run it for you, essentially, so that you don't have to rely on posting content all the time. They're engaging so much that they're running it for you. Um, that was probably my biggest fear, is that I thought that it was going to take a long time to get there. And now I see the people posting and I see the engagement and I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, we've freaking done it," cuz now it's compounding.
Yeah.
Now forget about it.
It really is. The only thing that I would love to see is I still feel like I post in there as much as possible, but I also I don't want to take the shine away from the people. I want to encourage the people to do because I mean you, Jackson, we could post all day, dude. We could come up with marketing material and funny things like that's what we do. But I would love to see like you see on social media, like, hey, this kid loves doing dirt bike gear unboxing. That's his thing. I want to see him posting in the app for this thing.
Mm,
This girl loves doing like, hey, get ready with me as I like try to like try out new gear in this one track or this one pro that's like, hey, I'm gonna showcase my road to Loretta's. I want to see more people posting in their niche thing because not
mm,
only is it a great community, everyone kind of has their own thing. And that's like what social is about. It's like, hey, I go to this guy because he's a funny freaking comedian and makes hilarious reels making fun of current events. I want to see like somebody like doing funny reels making fun of like Chad Reed or AC or Brayton in the booth or something, you know? Like I want to see people really bring themselves and their personality to like making content like that. Cause really, dude, if that happens, I'm already in the app nonstop. I'm sure like most everybody who's in the app is. If that happens, the heck do I need Instagram for, man? Like I got my comedy. It's centered around my life's passion. I got my information. I got, you know what I mean? So I'd love to
it's ready
see
for liftoff for that
more.
next stage, because I think
It really is.
we've
Yeah.
made even a couple of tweaks in like the checklist process of when somebody signs up and they go through the first couple of checklist items. Uh, it's a bit different now. It already kind of tosses them into this really fun welcome chat to where all of us have
Mhm.
introed ourselves and done our intro posts. So it's a
Mhm.
matter of getting people to feel comfortable enough to post for the very first time. That's a big step. And then
Mhm.
the next step is getting them to really lean into whatever their personality is. And I mean,
Yes.
I'm the leader of this thing essentially. Like I'm a good example of that. I fully have leaned into the character of like, I'm pretty dorky, and I've just like leaned into that, and that became like
Yeah.
this articulate coach that just wants to, help as many people as I can. Um, the app, yeah, I mean, it's getting better in every single way. Like there are so many cool features coming out. We just had the streak feature. So if you go to your
Yes.
profile, you
Super
can see
cool.
how many days you've been on a streak for, as far as just logging into the app. And there's going to be this month, I think they're adding like 2 or 3 different other uh, gamification aspects to it. So there might be, I think there's going to be scoreboards for certain things. Um, yeah, I am so excited because like I said, it was
Same.
so hard to get it to this point. And I guess in hindsight, it
Yeah.
hasn't been that long because we launched our initial app even in what, like 21 or 22, maybe even.
Yeah.
So, and we've now have a V2 completely different app developer. So it hasn't been that long, but I guess to me, it feels like an
Yeah.
eternity.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a lot of work in the
Oh
background, so there's
yeah.
a lot leading up to the first app release. Like a lot of people won't see that. It's not just like, hey, I'm gonna wake up and become a motocross trainer. There was 10, 15 years of developing the right curriculum and getting the ball rolling to get that going. But yeah, I would love to see that happen in the app. Not only for to help promote the growth of TCE or whatever it is, but I really just love I love our community, dude. I love the live chats. I love the fact that if I'm at the track and I'm like, damn it, I cannot get this one corner. I'm like, oh, dude, let me pop this open. Oh, AJ's got an off camber turn tutorial. Like, let me try just circling doing that. Or if I want to laugh, let me just hop in the live chat, and I'm sure the real GP has something going on where he's going to make me crack up laughing. So I think maybe I want to use this as like personally. I want to see like call to action right here, folks. Like show your personality in the app. Like post the memes, do the funny reels, like show yourself riding, and I want to encourage so many people to do that because it makes it so much better for all of us.
And it's such a safe space
It's
for that. There's
exciting.
no judging going
It
on in that app.
is.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I don't think there's anything I can do to make people go, except for Jackson, and make them go like, "Oh, dude, Dave's weird. Write him off. TCE's weird." You know what I mean? It's super cool. Not to mention we have the greatest show, which is our Sunday night Moto show
Shout out.
podcast, whatever you want to call it. It is by far the some of the most fun I've had, like content creation wise. Like it's been great.
Okay, so hour
So
and
yeah,
a
I'm
half,
excited to
Dave.
see where shakes
I'm
out.
gonna bail on you.
Oh, this guy,
Yeah, I'm
come
just
on.
gonna run. Just a hard stop, just like that.
All right, see ya.
Okay, bye.
AJ, is that new merch out?
Man, what a plug. I think it is. I need to check the website, but I am 99.999% sure that our new essentials line is on the website. We've got embroidered hoodies. We've got new t-shirts. The colors are freaking so nice.
The hood,
The
dude. That
material
gray hoodie's had me in a chokehold for a
are
while.
yeah, it's good stuff.
It
It's
is.
good stuff. Thanks
It
thanks
really
for
is.
bringing that up, Dave Drakes. One other plug as well. The Phoenix Handlebar guys were at the class in California 2 days ago,
Yes. Shout
and
out Jason
they
Dillon.
have just posted the link. We have a private link for Moto Academy members to be able to purchase at a discount the custom Moto Academy bar pad. Only available to Moto Academy members. So that link is only inside of that app. Not only
Yep.
does it get you the discount, but you're going to be the only people at the track being able to rep that bar pad. Pretty cool.
Yep.
And the handlebar
100%.
bend that you purchase through that link is a bend that they designed because they were getting so many people calling them asking, "Hey, do you have any handlebars that will allow me to move my controls really far in?" And finally they were like, who has been saying this? And they're like, AJ at the Moto Academy. So they ended up designing a handlebar that has a ton of room for the controls where you can get them in, like how I teach, to be able to turn the
Nice.
hand. So yeah, get in the app
Is
and go get those bars and bar pad.
the actual sweep and pullback, all that stuff? What's that most? I guess similar to, and like which OEM handlebar setup can we expect for that to be like?
Well, so I don't know if this is completely correct, but I was running the Renthal 827 bar, which I liked because it was a really straight sweep. I want to say
Yeah.
the
Yep.
height and the sweep of these bars is very, very, very close to an exact match of that handlebar,
Okay.
which is the one
Not a bad bar.
which is the one that I've been swearing by for no other reason other than just like Jet was running it and I tried it and loved it. Yep. And if anything, this bar allows even more room on the controls to get the levers that far in. So yeah, get in the app, find that link. It's in, we have a new like drop down tab that says TMA partners. So you guys can find the discounts on LMNT, Phoenix handlebars, like all of our other partners. You can.
I got to email Hannah to drop in the TCE links too for all of
we
our
just created that tab
CDs
like yesterday. So do that and make sure we get collective on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a ton. Sweet. It's fun. Good stuff. Yeah.
We've done it.
What races are you going to?
Just Foxborough. That's it. One and done.
All right. Well, TCE will be at all of them. So.
Okay. Well, are you going to start when it goes east, or you don't know yet?
It's open now. I haven't had to go the last couple, but I'll probably be in Phoenix and then East Coast Sweep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Moto Academy podcast. We've done it. San Diego breakdown. We'll do the questions next time. We ran out of time because of me. I'll take the blame. Okay. Toodles.